Okay, so I'm trying to modify these wheel openings in the back here. So what I've had to do is get the car down on the floor, get the weight of the car on, the tires, gone ahead, and it's probably not enough, but I've added 80 pounds of concrete front and rear on this car to try and get it to squash as much as I can. These lowering springs have a tendency to settle, so it's kind of hard to say, once the full weight of the cars, the seats, the carpets, and everything, precisely where it's going to land. But this should give me a good approximation. The main thing about the wheel opening that I have to be careful of is that I have clearance right here where this body crosses over the tire. This is a spot where when I'm driving down the highway and I hit those bridge transitions at highway speeds, I can sometimes hear a little scraping noise as the rebound and the tire moves back up in here. And while I've clearanced that opening quite a bit, the fenders are quite a bit closer on that car, so my ability to clearance that without making a big giant scallop is is tough. Anyway, so I've reshaped just this section over here so that it basically, and drawn it back about an inch over here, only about a half of an inch in the front because I had plenty of room with the tire drop to get the tire off already. That's the way I set the quarter panels, and intentionally leaving a quarter of an inch between the front of the tire. So I'm basically allowing for new tires, which will have more tread. So I've moved it another half of an inch forward here. And you can see this is basically the distance that the whole rim is opened up front to rear. So at any rate, I'll show you on this other side what it looks like, or would look like, in a stock configuration with the weight on the car. You could see how close it is to the tire, even though these have been cut back already. To just a half-inch thickness on this rim here. You can see it's right on the tire, and this is basically, there's no wheel spacer on this. This is sitting where it would normally, and so is this quarter panel. So you have plenty of room up here, but as you come across the tire starting at this point right here, and now this tire, when it wants to rebound, only wants to come back up in this direction further. So all of this would naturally have to be scalloped out at least an inch in this direction over here to clearance that. Also, what I'll be doing is I'll be moving that quarter panel out at the bottom, and of course this one too, once I get it all trimmed out and widened out. But I have flexibility over here to just give me a little bit more breathing room right in this neighborhood over here, should that be a problem. But I'm able to get my fingers up in here pretty good. I suppose you could see that other side is already tight. So that's what I'm fooling with now, and we'll go on from here. All right, anybody who's watched my other builds, seen these before. Something we used to use all the time, building stock cars, bodies. It's just an adjuster. It's a temporary adjuster. Sometimes we've made them for a permanent adjustment when you could adjust your fenders in and out. So I'm going to use this to adjust my rear quarter out and to hold it in position to where it needs to go. So with it on the ground, it's easy to see that, so I'll put this in there now. All this is a piece of half-inch tubing with its 049 wall. So a piece of 3/8 tubing will slip right in there. I think it's about an 049 wall also, so that it doesn't crush when you tighten the nut down. There's just a welded 1/4-20 nut. Pretty simple. And then on that 1/4-20 nut, it's just a washer that's welded to give you a thumb screw to tighten this down. And then, of course, this telescopes in and out, so you can adjust your fender right where you want it to go. Okay, you can see here I've attached it with clamps just to the car and then to the bottom of the quarter panel here. And I've got the adjuster, and I've got it pulled out and held where I want it to, as far as its relationship to the tire. And that's how that works. Okay, so that's that wheel opening all put back together and ground up after getting it all welded in there. So the next thing I got to do over here is address this area over here, how this blends in here and connects up to this rear portion here. So I've got it bolted back to the this stand so that it won't droop on me, and I've got to make a little blend out to this point. I'm probably going to have to modify the end of the bumper to match this angle a little bit, because I just, when I built this bumper end, it was just a little bit, it was more or less following the old quarter panel, I should say. Anyway, a little messing around with that, and we'll see how that goes. So I was getting ready to work on finishing out how this all connects here at the end of the quarter panel, and so just throw the bumper on simple and then go on from there. Well, a couple hours later, I simplified the way that I was mounting my bumper. I don't know why I was doing what I did, but choices that I made were overly complex, if you will. So now the bumper's just held on with the 4 bolts, the studs that go through this tail pan, and in order to keep it from rocking, which was the problem when it was just held on by the 4 bumper bolts, I simply have these extension tabs here that are through bolted right through this section of the car on both sides. And what I ended up having to do is, and I don't know why I had kept this the original roll pan from the car, but it was interfering with me getting the correct angle for some reason or other. I just cut it from here down and just cut it away. No need for it. It's plenty solid here. So I had this flange here with these embedded T-nuts over here, which I'll use this flange because I have to create an extension flange here for this closeout panel underneath here to keep debris from gathering up inside this bumper, and also acting like a parachute. But that's another story altogether. Anyway, I was getting interference from that roll pan, and I wasn't able to correct it, and I was trying to do all kinds of goofy things to try and make it happen. I said, why don't I just get rid of that whole thing? It's just in my way. Put a couple simple tabs there, and I don't know why it takes so long for things to occur to you sometimes, but it just does. It's been over a year, almost a year, since I built this bumper, and I have to make some modifications to it in general, but I wasn't looking to get into that today. But long rambling speech, time to move back onto the quarter panel. Okay, so that was a fun little task, piecing all this together and getting this to where this is extended. Right now it's just overlaying this area right here. It'll get welded up along this seam here, and also it'll get plug welded down through where these clecos are right now. But it also adding that piece to the quarter panel give me a chance to really reconcile this gap between the bumper and the back of the quarter panel. So everything's pretty well shaped up the way I was hoping it would turn out. So anyway, I got a lot more to do here on this quarter panel, so I'm about to get it cracking. All right, so I've gone ahead and I've got this welded up on the car side all the way down, and that's so I can that's basically, now that's stabilized, and so now I can take this back off if and when I need to. The next bunch of little jobs are super no fun. To try and finish out this whole inner area, which means a bunch of jumping up and down on the floor, and then from there I've got to finish out the inner rim that I need to put in here to connect this to the wheel tub that's already on the car. So lots of little nooks and crannies that have to be dealt with underneath the car. Well, before I can do those filler panels, I've got to make my housing for my side marker. Now, obviously, I'm using the side markers from the Hellcat, so I have to come up with my own closure here, and that this will snap into, because this is a sealed LED, unit right here. No bulbs involved in these. So the first thing I did was I cut an oversized piece of 045, and then I cut a hole in it that will accommodate this situation where you've got it feeds in on one side here and hooks in, and then it snaps in on the other side. Now that I've got that, you can see the outline of the housing, or excuse me, this housing. And I've backed off about 1/16 of an inch, and that's to allow for paint and primer. So I have to have some space in here. It can't be a tight fit. So I've gone ahead and I've, like I said, I've cut this hole to accommodate this, and now I've bent this up, and I'll pop this back in. This has a slight curvature to it. So does the quarter panel, but not quite as much as this. So I'm going to have to average this. I'm going to have to basically bend this back so that this is just shy of this. This is the thickest part right here in the middle. But at any rate, that's what I'm up to right now. Okay, so this is all bent up and into a hat channel shape. And I've added these little sidewalls over here to help frame out the light itself. And I'm just going around right now and doing a little bit of adjusting on how it fits in there. This piece here, as you can see, just goes down and under like that and grabs that section, and then this side here has a little plastic clip that clips in there. But as you can see, it's about 1/4 of an inch thickness is what it wants on the back side in order for that clip to stay tight. So what I'm going to have to do is on the back side is I'm going to just have to take a piece of 3/16 and add it to the back side with a little bevel. See here, right here, a little bevel like that to fit in that shape right there. You see that little shape has a little bit of a bevel, and basically that'll tighten it up on the back side. Right now I'm in the process of adding these little face pieces here, one in the front and one in the back, and then I'll tune it all up, clean it up, and then I'll proceed to see how it goes fitting it into the quarter panel. Okay, so that's what it looks like welded up in place, cleaned up, and then I just hit it with a little black primer so that it would blend it with the rest of the quarter, give you the sense of the proportion. It was lined up with the top edge of the existing side marker that would have been in that local position normally. Anyway, moving on to the next thing. Okay, so these panels can be the most tedious because it requires a lot of in and out, up and down, off the floor, and it's in an awkward spot. It's in a confined spot, and it's the closeout, basically, panel that goes from the existing trunk floor over there. See where the light's shining through, and it closes up that last little bit up to the inner wheel tub, the steel inner wheel tub over here. Anyway, this piece here is not going to actually connect to the body and mechanically, no welds or anything. This is just going to have this foam stuck here so that it bumps up against the inside of the quarter panel, and later on what I'm going to do is I'm going to seam seal it along here, so it'll have a somewhat of a connection, but it won't be a hard connection. That's to keep you from seeing this panel for any reason. Sometimes when you lean on the sheet metal, if there's a hard panel behind it, you'll see a crease there. Anyway, that's what I'm doing right now. I got to get it painted and installed. Okay, so I'm laying on my back on a little platform here. Get myself up underneath this wheel hole here. And what I've done here is I've got this flange that I put onto the wheel tub to extend it, so I have a nice flat flange to put a closure panel on. And what I'm doing now is I have to come out with a piece here to basically attach to this part of the wheel tub, this rim, this little 1/2 inch rim. And then from there I have to go straight up with another piece of sheet metal. And from there I need to put another flange in order to receive the closure panel. So it has to stand off this panel. So what I've gone and done is I put some tape on the inside here, and I'm going along with a little piece of sheet metal and just kind of laying it on there and incrementally going along and marking this so that when I pull this quarter panel back off, this is something that I had to do with the quarter panels on my car, and it was really a tedious job to do. So I'll be pulling this quarter off, and I'll be making all of this structure based on this line that I've put on the inside that projects off of this flange here straight out like that. Anyway, just nipping away at it. Okay, so I've just got the this closeout panel just clamped into place over here. I'm probably gonna have to add another layer of foam right here against the body till right about this area here, because there's a slight curvature in the panel here, and because I have this large flange, it's broken up at a 90-degree angle. It's kind of hard to get that to comply. At any rate, so it's going to be welded here along this edge over here, and then I'm going to seam seal down this entire run here to this point here, and then of course this will be closed out with its own separate panel. Anyway, it's time to pull this quarter panel back off. Okay, so I've gone along and I've installed this extension panel. I welded along the inside here, and then I seam sealed it all the way around to the back, around the front side also, and I added a little bit more of this foam to take up the distance, and later, once it's connected, I'll put a little bit more, actually what I'm going to do here, since it's such a wide gap now, I'm going to put some waterproof rubberized tape on the bottom side here to seal this to the quarter panel on the bottom side. What I ended up doing over here is I ended up adding some stobs to the outside of the wing washer here to create some stability in this direction. And I know I said that when I put this wing together, it's really pretty stout. It doesn't really want to move or twist the top of the quarter, but I had the center section of the wing out for a little bit while I was doing some things, and it really, you know, it was threatening to twist up this metal pretty bad. So once I put the wing back together and got it solid, I wanted to lock this wing washer in to the attitude that it's, you know, that's proper for this this wing to sit down on this bed. At any rate, so what that required me to do is put a couple of 3/8 049 wall stobs from here to the outer edge of the wing washer, which is close to the edge of the fender, so that we don't have any twist in this direction. But anyway, I'm moving along to the inside of the quarter panel and getting ready to create this. You can see where I traced it out around here, transferred that mark over here to that. Corresponds to this lip that I added over here, which will be what receives my little closure panel between the quarter panel and the wheel tub. So in order that I'm not actually touching the wheel tub, or excuse me, the closure doesn't touch the quarter panel itself, I'm creating this a little standoff piece here. It's got a 1/4 inch lip here, and then it's got a little set piece here, which I'm going to add some metal here, so it'll stand off and away, probably about 1/4 of an inch away from the inside of the quarter panel, and that way, you know, it'll be completely independent of the quarter panel. And I'll be welding it along this inside edge here every 2 inches, and then sealing this up also. And that's basically what will provide me an area to bring that closure panel to this and make this all one piece. Of course, this will all be primed before I go ahead and weld this up, but I have to finish this forward piece, and then I have to build the panel that goes in here, that goes into this little step here, and then I have to create another lip for the closure panel to attach to. So as you can see, that's an pretty easy task here with quarter panel off the car. I had to do mine inside the wheel well, you know, around the hub, which is really the main problem, besides the fact that I don't have a lift to put this up overhead and make it an easy task. At any rate, with the quarter panel off, it's a whole lot easier to make this up now, and then I'll just have to put the intermediate panel in there to join both halves together when I'm done with all this. Also, I'm going to put a small receiver lip over here because I want to put in a secondary closure panel on the bottom of the quarter panel at the back here, kind of keep debris from damaging the inside of the quarter panel here. Anyway, that's where I'm at. Just going to keep going. Okay, so this is what this is looking like now. I've got this rim welded in here. It's primed both sides underneath and in the back. And I've got a little step in here so I can build my panel from here to here, all the way around this arch. And I took the time to put the sound attenuating mat on the back side of the quarter panel while I've got it off, rather than try and fish it in and around, which I really don't have any access at this point to be able to put this in, because the distance between here and the wheel tub is only about that big, so I wouldn't be able to reach in there anyway. So I thought I'd put that on before I put the quarter on for the last time. But anyway, I still got a little work to do. I've got to build this panel, and then I've got to put another receiver rim on that for the joining panel. Anyway, that's the way it's looking. Okay, so as you can see, I've developed a pattern for this inner panel, matching this trace line that I marked off while the quarter panel was still on the car. And as you can see, this is not just a flat panel. It has to has a slight conical shape to it. Basically, the top edge has to lean forward because that's the way the panel goes, and I want to maintain somewhat even space all the way around, about a half an inch all the way around here. So as I was taping these pieces together, I was pulling them out so that I would get that shape. When this lays flat, I'll be able to take the steel and kind of give it a roll, hopefully, if everything works out right. And so that's that, and moving on to the steel. Okay, so here's the steel piece developed out, and just wanted to show you this. Basically, what I did was I took that profile, that paper pattern, and I added a half of an inch to it. And that half of an inch ends up being my countervailing flange that will line up with the flange that's already on the car. And I used these are just a set of dikes, and I sharpened one side here, as you can see. And then I welded a couple of stops on here, so that's a half inch. I put it on the edge of the sheet metal and basically just slowly tweak this whole thing over. And at the same time, using the shrinker stretchers here to shrink the material down, because when you bend it over, it wants to, all that gathered up material wants to move the panel and reshape it. So you've got to slowly work it back into shape to where it follows this shape of the quarter panel that's already here. I don't want to change that, so I got to make sure that it lays in here without much tension. So it's hard to see here, but I've got space behind this where I can run my fingers. That means that this is not a flat panel. This is kind of tilted towards me in a conical shape like this, and going around here. And of course, these have to sweep in this direction also. So that's a bit of a process. There's no easy way of doing it except to try it and see how it goes. But as long as the paper pattern is laying in there the way you want it, and it has the space behind it, what happens is this, once it's in metal, it wants to lay flatter, and that means it looks like it doesn't want to fit, like it's too big. But as you start to shrink this edge up and roll this panel around in this conical shape, it starts to go back to the shape that you intended it, and it'll fit in that step. But it's a bit of a long process, but tedious, lots of trial and error. But anyway, this gives me something to attach my intermediate panel to. So now I've got to prime this and get this welded in. Okay, hopefully I didn't forget anything. We're just about ready to put this back on the car, hopefully for the last time. As you can see, this was welded on around here, and then I seam sealed all of this in and around here. So any debris that gets up into here and lays on here won't have, collect up in behind this panel, obviously. I added this little piece of a little Z flange here so that I can put a closure panel, a plastic closure panel of ABS plastic underneath, right at the bottom of the quarter panel. And what that'll do is you'll have your plastic wheel tub here, and hopefully we can join it together here at the bottom with this piece of ABS plastic going all the way out to the end, and it'll keep debris out of this cavity also. So you'll have this deck here, which is the one that's already on the car, and then you'll also have a secondary deck on the bottom, hopefully to keep the maximum amount of debris out. Some will get in there, as we all know. Dirt has a way of getting in everywhere, but got to do our best to try and keep it out. So now let's see if it actually goes back on the car. All right, so I've got it welded on. I'm in the process of grinding off the top seam over here. And I got to take my time, make sure I don't weld too far through. Got a couple of low spots I'm trying to go along and use this stud gun here to kind of pull up. There's no axis in there now. I've got that little opening, but it's about less than an inch wide, so I can't reach my hand up in there to do any hammer and dolly on this end. That's why I did this other seam while I had the quarter panel off. At least I have 50% of it to where I could tune it in with a hammer and dolly, and now I'm just going to have to go along here and just kind of do the best I can with this. At any rate, that's where we are for this week. I don't guess the next couple of weeks are going to be that productive because of the holidays. But at any rate, I will see you on the next one.